Economists say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host, Hawa Sani Garba. Youths are strategic partners in the crusade against corruption because they have the vibrancy, physical and mental alertness, passion for life, creativity and exuberance which make them instruments for social change. It is a common saying that the greatest strength and wealth of any nation is in their youths. Nigerian youths are her greatest assets. Their innovativeness and energy are enormous, and if not tapped in the right way, can tip them over the negative side. Under its integrity outreach projects, as a means of positively engaging the youths, the Commission has developed various programs that serve as mechanism to mobilize youths in the fight against corruption. Today on the program, we shall look at some of these engagements and more. But first, let us join Joy Aja as she brings us news on happenings in the Commission.
Hello viewers, thank you for joining us. I am Joy Aja with Anti-Corruption Stories. ICPC and the Federal Capital Territory Department of Land Administration have entered into a partnership to stop fraudulent practices surrounding land acquisition in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The Director, Land Administration FCT, Adamu Jibrin Hussein, during a courtesy visit to ICPC headquarters in Abuja recently, said that the partnership will help to address some of the challenges in the agency, which included impersonation and cloning of documents, manipulation of systems for private gain, fake acquisition of land by fake agents, and tampering with land records.
We feel it's good we interact, come and collaborate to see how do we make our activities at both ends effective and efficient. And also to now come and explain our activities in the Department of Land Administration, what do we do as a department. To also relate, to explain other stakeholder departments, because we have other stakeholder departments, they have their own different responsibilities. So we feel it's good to come to explain our functions as well as the other stakeholder department functions.
In his response, Chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonye SAN, stated that the visit was significant as the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, played an important and relevant role to development, adding that it was therefore imperative to cleanse the system of corruption and corrupt practices. Professor Owasonye went further to say that it was necessary for the administration to apply strict punishment to individuals who engaged in fraudulent practices, especially of the staff of the department, noting that every agency was faced with the daunting challenge of dealing with fifth columnists.
They say if the ball does not crack, the lizard can crawl inside it. The cracks are from inside. This is not peculiar to FCD, even our own ICPC. We have cracks too. But when we see a crack, we try to seal it up. So that is the point that I'm making, that even though implementing some of these measures will help to reduce the number of people who are implicated. Because once there's transparency, for example, we've got petitions that people have been given allocation to do a housing project on a land that doesn't exist. Now, if you publish approved layouts and those who are allottees genuinely, it will be information for the public. Many staff associations or cooperatives do not fall victims. We have a lot of cases on staff associations and staff cooperatives who are falling victims of scammers who claim to be doing housing projects. They say they have, and they will have documents. They will have documents. And when the people go to do due diligence, it will be validated at your end. But the staff will put money and turn out that the whole thing. Somebody inside will say, yes, this is okay. And they have documents to that. But if you publish that in Abuja there are X number of approved allocations for estates, for housing estates, it's published there. The first thing I do is to go online and just see this thing is not listed. Where did you get the land from? But we have people who do. So we need to remove the secrecy, and some of these things are published, are indicated in these recommendations about making open what are the steps for an allocation. You need to do step 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where you pay for. This is where you can verify. If you don't do all that, the staff of FCDA will still become, what do you call it now? They will be agents standing in between prospective applicants and their desire, and they will turn it into transactions, which is what is happening.
In another development, ICPC has arraigned a 40-year-old Jehu Kwasu, the impersonator of the former primate of Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Nicholas Oko, and 3 others for allegedly defrauding some prominent and influential Nigerians of 30,450,000 naira. Other members of the cybercrime syndicates docked by the Commission at the Federal Capital Territory High Court 32, sitting in Apo, Abuja, were Etubi Idris Aliyu, Abdurrahman Yusuf Muazu, and Usman Abdulaziz. In a charge brought before Honorable Justice C.O. Oba, ICPC accused the quartet of impersonating the Most Reverend Oko by faking his Facebook account bearing his picture and name, and using the same account to defraud unsuspecting members of the public in the name of raising funds to bring home from abroad the corpse of the former primate's deceased brother. The court was also informed of how the accused persons used their bank accounts and that of some of their friends to perpetrate the fraud. The accused were alleged to have also used some of their accomplices as fronts to withdraw some of the 30.4 million naira paid into their accounts, as well as transfer some to other accounts specially opened for their illicit transaction. The defendants were also accused of using falsified national identity cards to open numerous fraudulent bank accounts with fake names of individuals to carry out their criminal acts. The Commission, in a 17-count charge preferred against the first and second defendants, and 8 and 9 counts against the third and fourth defendants respectively, averred that their action of obtaining by pretense was contrary to Section 1.1 and punishable under Section 1.3 of the Advanced Fee Fraud and Other Fraud-Related Offences Act 2010. All the accused persons pleaded not guilty to all the charges when they were read before them. Counsels to the first defendant, Sadiq Muhammad Lawal, and the second, third, and fourth defendants, Abdulrazak Jibril, respectively prayed the court to grant their clients bail, which was not opposed by ICPC counsel Sulaiman Abdul Karim. The trial judge therefore admitted each of the accused persons to bail of 20 million naira and 2 sureties in like sum. The sureties must have fully developed properties in the FCT. However, owing to their inability to fulfill the bail conditions, they were remanded in the Kuje Correctional Center The case has been adjourned for the commencement of hearing. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues. Stay with us.
If you are just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go, a production of the Public Enlightenment and Education Department of ICPC. Corruption has a detrimental effect on development, stability, governance, and democracy, which goes a long way in making the youths feel despondent. However, all hope is not lost for Nigerian youths, as ICPC has encouraged them through different engagements to make a difference in their space. ICPC's engagement with the youths cuts across different levels, beginning at the primary and secondary levels through tertiary institutions and the National Youth Service Corps members. The initiatives are aimed at educating and training the youths on and against corruption, encouraging them to report corruption and corrupt activities and become role models to other youths. Mr. Umfon Umor of the Public Enlightenment and Education Department of the Commission tells us more about these initiatives.
According to Section 6 E and F of the ICPC Act, enlisting the Nigerian youth into the fight against corruption is one of the cardinal anti-corruption strategies deployed by the Commission in the fight against corruption. So as far back as 2003, the Commission noticed that civic education was missing in our public curriculum, school curriculum. There was need for that to be brought back. To bring that back, the Commission entered into a partnership with Nigerian Educational Research Development Council to come up with a curriculum that will bring this civic education back to our public schools. And since 2003 till date, this values curriculum that was created out of this partnership has been taught in public schools up till today. It has been extended to colleges of education today. That is one of the anti-corruption strategies deployed by the Commission to bring the youth into the fight against corruption. Other strategies involve establishment of student anti-corruption clubs in school. We open these clubs and inaugurate them, and the clubs have been functioning very well in secondary schools. We also go to universities to open student anti-corruption vanguards, because when you look at the social vices in our tertiary institutions, there is need for this vanguard to be open in order for students' characters to be molded positively. In the absence of civil society organization that's supposed to be monitoring this for, because for some time now we've been looking for civil society organizations to monitor the behaviors of these children outside the school for ICPC. They can be monitored from secondary school to university to when they graduate, as it is done in other developed countries. But how is ICPC monitoring the activities of these clubs? We use two methods, direct and indirect methods. Under indirect methods, these club patrons, they gave us quarterly reports and yearly reports. So from these reports, we can now infer how the clubs are faring in school, whether they are doing well or not doing well. From those reports, we can now know their challenges and their strengths. Now, in using direct method to monitor the clubs, we go to the schools, we enter the meetings with them, we feel their pulse, we ask them what are their challenges, and when they tell us their challenges, we now profess solutions to those challenges. So right now, those are the two methods we are using to monitor the activities of these children, because a child can be very positive, behaving very well at school, but at home is a moral monster. So we want a situation where how the child behaves in school is also behaves outside the school. Definitely, we cannot waste time to open over 3,500 clubs nationwide and expecting not to have impact. We believe that the present situation Nigeria is finding itself can be arrested by a generation, and what we are doing right now is to get that generation that will grow to learn to say no to corruption, a generation that will learn not to sell their votes in favor of anything during elections. The other impacts of these club activities can be felt in Lagos State right now. Most of the schools in Lagos are creating anti-corruption prefects. They appoint anti-corruption prefects. So that shows that there is impact from the student anti-corruption clubs that we have opened. So for school to see the need to appoint anti-corruption prefects from these clubs shows that they are living up to expectation. In every club that we open, there is either a matron or a patron to oversee the activities of that club, both at the secondary school level and at the university level. They are the ones that call for the meetings of the club. They are the ones that send to ICPC quarterly and yearly reports. So these are the ones that control the activities of the club to make sure that these children do not misbehave or they don't go outside the guidelines of opening these clubs.
ICPC leaves no stone unturned in her interactions with the youths, and the message is simple. Do your part in achieving the Nigeria of your dreams. Get involved. Do and say something positive about Nigeria. Let us hear more from the Honorable Member representing the youths of Nigeria in ICPC, Mrs. Hannatu Muhammad.
So the ICPC engages youth at various levels with various activities. Starting from the primary and secondary schools, we have the anti-corruption clubs where youth get to perform activities that are related to anti-corruption, and they become sort of anti-corruption ambassadors in their own society. There was a story of a girl that was in a bus coming for a program at the ICPC because she was in the anti-corruption club, and somebody was trying to take bribe from them on the road, but then the girl was able to tell the man that no, they will not give bribe because they're in anti-corruption club with the ICPC. And I think that's very profound, because at that young age, if you're able to have that high moral standing that you will shun corruption, I think it goes a long way. And she's able to also give an impact to all her colleagues then also. When we come to the tertiary institutions, we have the anti-corruption vanguards, which is a bit more advanced than the anti-corruption clubs, because these are older people. These are people that actually are more prone to corruption than the younger ones are. So we have those activities also in tertiary institutions, and we have actually quite a lot of tertiary institutions that we have these anti-corruption vanguards. We also have at the post-tertiary level, when we get to the NYSC, we have the anti-corruption, the ICPC anti-corruption CDS group, which works closely with the Commission in public enlightenment and education of the public on the vices and the anti-corruption crusade. So let me use the very popular saying that says, change begins with you. Always we have to look at how we impact ourselves and our surrounding before looking at the bigger picture, because it has to start somewhere. We cannot just go out and start preaching what we are not practicing. A lot of societies are more visual. They take from what they see you doing rather than what they hear you say. So I think if we can begin to impact ourselves in as little a way as we can, it would go a long way in fighting anti-corruption. For example, we take it as a behavioral norm to give gratification or bribe, and then we think, oh, there's nothing there, I'm just appreciating this person. But when we look at it intricately, it's actually a beginning of a system that we don't want to continue. So I think we have to actually look at ourselves, especially the youth, because we are the future of tomorrow. We have to look within ourselves, find out areas that we can actually change ourselves, make impact within ourselves, and then the impact will show outside as well.
Welcome back. How has ICPC's engagement with the youths impacted on them? Is there any recorded impact, and how do we measure their attitudes to know if the engagement has impacted on them positively or negatively? Our crew spoke with members of the Students' Anti-Corruption Vanguards who shared their experiences with us.
We made so many great impact and so many mistakes. One of the positive impact we've made to the student was to reduce the exam malpractice. The exam malpractice has been a headache on us. When I took my research, I discovered there's a fault from the lecturer and also the student. So we're able to cope that of the lecturers and then cope that of the students. So the level at which corruption or exam malpractice has been subdued, we don't have much like before that we catch. In one exam, we catch close to 100 students, exam malpractice, but now it has reduced. Then my earnest expectation now is this current exam will be commencing on the 28th. It's going to be, we like call it a free kind of exam. And then what are those mistakes we made? While I was giving the post, at first the school management they were not actually supporting us. So when we had a case of a student being molested by a lecturer or by fellow student, when we take it further, they will tell us this and that, this and that. So it weakens our mind, of which I could remember the last time from the ICPC headquarters they came, and I told them this is our challenge, and that has been resolved. And then secondly, one of the challenges we face is times of finance. It could be sometime you need to record some things, there's no mobile phone to record what is happening that time. So these are some of the things we fail, and then meeting up some other programs. The main corruption in College of Education starts from, I will summon them, enlighten them, tell them the penalty, and tell them the game. So that was one. And then number two, when we are having Student Week, I also mobilize the Student Anti-Corruption Bank and some other securities to make sure we are there. The past election also, we were there fully on ground to check and to know how the election goes. And I can beat my chest and say this last Student Week that they did the election was the best since the establishment of this school.
And my vision is to make sure that the rate of corruption dies down drastically. As we all are aware, corruption cut across all aspects, which include from academics down to relationship between lecturers and teachers and even within students themselves. So I will try my possible best, first of all, making sure that the whole number of students come to know of the club, comes to know of the group. First things first is knowing your rights, knowing things you ought to do and things you ought not to do. And I think that's the first step to making sure that corruption is reduced drastically in this great institution.
The Student Anti-Corruption Vanguard has really impacted as in the growth the Vanguard has brought to me personally. I'll start by saying being confident, knowing like what I want to do, and nobody will tell me this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. Like, I'm confident that any decision I make, I know it's for the best because I've thought about it.
I'm very happy and I'm so excited seriously to be in this Students Anti-Corruption Vanguard as the Financial Secretary. And the first thing I net and I acquire about this association is make me to understand a lot of things, even what I don't even feel like is like corruption. So I know many things in this Student Anti-Corruption Vanguard. Like, it inspired me a lot, even if God, by the grace of God, if I wish to become the leader of this country, I'll be able to look for a way to make way that the corruption will reduce in this country, because it make me understand a lot about corruption.
That's our package on today's edition of the program. Remember to follow us on our social media handles showing on your screen. You can also watch this edition and others on our YouTube channel at ICPC Nigeria. See you again next week. Bye for now.